Hey, welcome back everybody. Happy Tuesday morning. Hope we're having a wonderful start to the day. And we've got a big update for you on this severe weather threat that has really, begun yesterday, I guess, but is really going to ramp up today and especially into tomorrow where we already have a moderate risk in effect. And that includes a large threat of tornadoes tomorrow afternoon. So again, very active time frame here for severe weather. And that won't end tomorrow either. Thursday, a lot of folks in the Ohio River Valley and down through the Carolinas get in on that severe weather action. So again, a very busy time ahead. I will let you know it is pretty early in the morning and I do have class at 8:30 and I'm recording this at about 6:35. So this video is probably going to be a little bit shorter just so I'm not late for class. And also if you hear any chirping in the background, that is the birds trying to wake everybody up. And if you hear any other sounds, that's also just everyone waking up. So again, I'll go ahead and apologize about that ahead of time. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump on into that forecast for you. So again, taking a look at kind of radar imagery here, as well as our watches, warnings, advisories, you'll notice kind of all of that active weather is really situated here towards the south, especially down from really rain falling, I guess, from Dallas all the way over towards the Atlanta area. Again, getting in on some pretty good rainy action today, and that'll be a theme for a lot of folks in here. But a lot of this is going to kind of dry out just a little bit before eventually we really start to gain in that severe weather threat back towards Texas and Louisiana going into this afternoon. But again, already seeing some showers and storms through that part of the country. In fact, if I zoom in a little bit more here, you might be able to notice, and see if I can make this any easier to see. Give me 1 second here. I know there's a button somewhere for it. Well, I don't know. Now it's gone. Either way, there's some strong storms down here in this part of the country. So sorry, I just deleted the map for you. Promise I'm going to make this super quick. Weather radar, is that the button? Ah, here we go. Okay, there we are. There we go. That'll make it easier to see. Sorry about that. So, again, as I was saying, though, you'll notice some of these storms in here are already a little bit stronger and have a little bit more of some of those supercellular characteristics. And same story back out here near Lubbock. In fact, we had some strong supercells in that area yesterday evening during, or I guess after the eclipse. And, again, some of those are still hanging around. So either way, just know that we're really just going to continue what we did yesterday again today. Now, other than that, we are seeing some scattered, probably rain and snow showers mixing in here, but mainly rain showers up here into the UP of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. Again, as some of that leftover disturbance from earlier in the week that brought that snow to Wyoming is still kind of working on through that part of the country. So again, definitely some active weather ongoing for a lot of folks. Now, satellite-wise, again, this is definitely the most active satellite imagery we've seen in a couple days, especially with just how bright some of these colors are showing up, again, indicating to me that these storms are getting tall. They're already kind of wanting to strengthen this morning, and as we get into this afternoon and we gain some daytime heating, anywhere that can see breaks in the clouds, we're really going to continue this trend of stronger storms developing. I'm sure satellite imagery will look a lot like this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and again on Thursday afternoon, at least in terms of severity of some of these storms. So again, just kind of a very active time frame ahead. All right. So I'm going to very quickly run you through kind of what to expect over the next couple of days, just in, I guess, more of the meteorological way. We'll look at our 500 millibar relative vorticity map, which is going to just kind of show us, again, where is this spin in the atmosphere? Where is this low pressure developing? And kind of where is it moving to? So we'll go ahead and talk about that now here. So again, up here to the north, this is that leftover disturbance from earlier in the week that I mentioned. That's what's bringing a little bit of lift up here and some precipitation kind of through Minnesota, Michigan, and Wisconsin. But again, the bigger story here is going to be this area of low pressure back down towards California and Arizona. Now, what that is already doing is kind of dragging up some of that Gulf instability into Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and again is leading to a lot of kind of divergence aloft here in these regions, and that's why we're seeing those showers and storms this morning. But what's eventually going to happen is this area of spin is going to kind of really develop at the surface, going into really as early as this afternoon and overnight tonight, and slowly work eastbound before by the time we're getting into Wednesday morning and Wednesday afternoon, we've got quite an impressive trough here. And in fact, you'll even notice this is now at this point starting to turn a little bit more negatively tilted. What I mean by that is, if I can find a color that maybe shows up a little bit better here for you, maybe Actually, black might show up kind of good. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. Again, not the best, but either way. So here's the trough, but what I mean when I say it's turning negative is notice how kind of these isobars are extending more down towards the bottom and right hand corner of your screen. That again indicates to me that this trough is strengthening, it's becoming stronger. Those kinematics, or that wind that is going to help produce that severe weather, is really kind of maximizing itself. And that's why we already have that, again, moderate risk issued for tomorrow afternoon. This is something that's a little bit newer in the models, indicating this trough is strengthening a little bit more. And again, it's going to have even more of those wind kinematics to work with compared to maybe what we even just thought yesterday. Now, eventually, we get into our Thursday afternoon, and this trough continues. And again, look at how kind of this is getting pretty negatively tilted here. Again, yesterday I was showing the same map, and this looked more neutrally tilted. Today, a little bit more negative, which again is going to uptrend those severe weather chances for today, tomorrow, and especially Thursday as well here, as this trough really kind of begins to eject into the Ohio River Valley, before eventually we get into this weekend, into Friday, and into our Saturday. This finally works on through the Northeast, where I think severe weather will really be not much of a threat, but flooding could be a threat, strong winds could be a threat, and maybe even a little bit of back-end mountain snow there, potentially into the Adirondacks, again going into kind of the Sunday timeframe. All right, severe weather today. So we have an enhanced risk of severe weather through kind of a lot of Texas and Louisiana here, really right through the central part of both of these states, just south of Dallas-Fort Worth and kind of towards the Houston and Austin areas slash San Antonio area northbound. So again, that is going to include the threat of strong straight line winds, definitely large hail, as well as a tornado threat. In fact, we've got a hatched 10% area of tornadoes today through, again, a big section of East Texas and into western Louisiana. So again, this is not a small threat by any means. Whenever you get 10% and they hatch it with that kind of black shaded area, that tells me that the Storm Prediction Center is relatively confident that we have the chance for strong tornadoes today. That means EF2 upwards. So again, definitely a possibility in this environment. So you got to have a way to get those warnings this afternoon. And also, storm mode today is not going to be pretty. We're not going to have these pretty lined up supercells where you can see a tornado from 5 miles away. It's kind of going to be messy convection today. Same story tomorrow, and maybe even Thursday. But I think Thursday, actually, funnily enough, we might be a little bit more of a discrete storm mode. But either way, again, going to be a very messy day, and a messy day with the chance to produce tornadoes. All right, actually, I think I brought that map up somewhere else. No, I guess not. We'll go ahead and run through these maps then. So, again, this map is for tomorrow. This is tomorrow's severe weather threat outlook. In fact, we have, again, a moderate risk of severe weather already issued by the Storm Prediction Center, and that does, once again, also include the threat of tornadoes. But let's go ahead and talk about where this is. So, this moderate risk is really centered right from Jackson, Mississippi, kind of southward through the just southern Mississippi area in general, kind of back into portions of Louisiana and into extreme southwestern Alabama as well. But even that slight risk area extends all the way outwards towards Birmingham, down through Shreveport, up into Tupelo, back even into the Florida Panhandle. So a lot of folks going to see some severe weather tomorrow. And again, that does include the threat of tornadoes as well, including, again, the potential for strong tornadoes. And you'll notice we have a 15% hatched area for tomorrow. So that's even higher than today. And that also means that moderate risk I just showed you, which, again, is the second highest risk level that they can issue, is driven off the threat of tornadoes. So, again, just another dangerous day tomorrow, and you got to have a way to get those warnings. And once again, storm mode is going to be messy. This is not going to be very pretty supercells. This is going to be kind of classic Dixie Alley, just messy convection that's kind of flying on through. So going to need to watch out for that tomorrow afternoon for sure. And then eventually, as we get into Thursday afternoon, this threat shifts off towards the east. And again, this is about 3 days out, so you're going to need to gain some confidence to kind of up these threat areas, but already a slight risk for a couple different areas. One kind of right here through Ohio and into Kentucky, and even clipping western West Virginia there, but also back down into the Carolinas. Raleigh, just south of Greensboro, into Charlotte, Columbia, Charleston, Savannah, down into the Florida Big Bend area, also having that threat for strong to severe storms, including likely the threat of a couple tornadoes here. All right, let's break this down for you a little bit, region by region. We'll start here into Texas and kind of look at today's threat, and then we'll look at tomorrow's threat, and then we'll look at Thursday's threat. So, again, already this morning, we're seeing kind of some of these, clusters of thunderstorms that we mentioned trying to become a little bit more supercellular in nature, but most of the severe weather threats should hold off until we kind of get into this afternoon. So you'll notice once we get into this time frame, some more of these storm cells kind of try to develop back down towards just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area, again with the chance to produce a couple tornadoes, but especially straight line winds and large hail are going to be a threat with any of these isolated storms that form back in that direction. Now, eventually, getting later into this afternoon is whenever more of that tornado threat kind of begins, and you'll notice that area that we had that 10% hatched area for tornadoes here in the eastern Texas and portions of Louisiana is driven off of this kind of clustering of storms later this afternoon. Now, I will also mention back here into central Texas, look at this, some of these storms are a little bit more isolated in nature and likely going to carry a tornado threat as well. In fact, if I just take a very quick sounding here, I'm going to do this on the fly here. Yeah, definitely, some of those ingredients, and that actually is a pretty contaminated sounding, so let me try a different one here. That's better. So, definitely maybe missing some of the kinematics out here. Not the prettiest photograph I've ever seen, but nonetheless, definitely have some pretty good Cape values. And again, this sounding looks, definitely conducive enough for some strong storms. But again, it's these storms kind of back out here into East Texas and portions of Louisiana. If I take a sounding here, yeah, this is why we have that tornado threat. Again, not to get super deep into the meteorology here, but really the main difference between these two soundings that I immediately notice whenever I look at them is over here in our hodograph. The other sounding was kind of more of just a straight line here in the hodograph, indicating definitely some wind shear, but not really changing with direction, more changing with speed. This one, though, definitely we've got a very pretty kind of curve here, indicating, again, that wind coming at the surface out of the southwest and very quickly turning out of the southeast. So again, getting that change of height with winds, and also dew point here at about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, plenty conducive enough for, severe weather. And then those Cape values are very high as well, which unfortunately can't see them, but they're about 2100 Cape values. Another thing I'll mention on the sounding here really quickly, again, just to kind of get into the meteorology of it a little bit more, this section right here is very important. This is why I say, as much as you're going to want to probably see these tornadoes, you're not really going to be able to very well because we have a very saturated column in our LCL, or the lifting condensation level, just meaning where is the bottom of that cloud at, is basically scraping the ground here. I mean, we're just a little above 1,000 millibars here, so again, it's going to be a day that is very easily, able to produce tornadoes, including a couple strong ones easily. And again, just the cheat code here is this possible hazard type box, PDS TOR, meaning, strong tornadoes are possible. So, again, just kind of looking at that, and that's the first sounding I've looked at today. So, we kind of did that one together. But again, nonetheless, you get the point. Tornadoes, very possible here, especially in this East Texas and into Louisiana area this afternoon. And again, large hail and damaging winds also going to be a threat. But that threat continues into the overnight, getting past sunset here into Louisiana. At this point, I imagine, once we get this late in the evening, if we take a sounding here, definitely still some tornado chances, still have those impressive kinematics. But if I scroll down here, what's changing is these thermodynamics out here. Our Cape values are really beginning to kind of decrease here, and thus that thunderstorm fuel is going to die off a little bit. So again, it should begin to calm down a little bit once we get into the overnight hours before getting into tomorrow morning, and we're going to start it all again. So let me see what map I have pulled up. I guess we can, we'll talk about that in a second. So again, that's a significant tornado parameter map, one I showed yesterday. We'll show it again for this afternoon, and you'll notice as we move into this afternoon, here comes that flare-up of ingredients right where we talked about here into East Texas and southern Louisiana. Again, some of those higher ingredients, STP values here, probably getting in about the 2 to 3 range, I would imagine. Yeah, about 2.5, 2.6. Isolated spots getting into that 3 to 4 range. So, again, enough that we need to worry about. And as I just looked at with that past sounding, definitely indicative of a environment conducive for tornadic development. So, definitely going to watch out for that. All right, flooding is also going to be a threat today. I do want to mention this. We have a moderate risk of flash flooding this afternoon here through much of Texas, Louisiana, and into Mississippi as well. But even that slight risk extending well out from there. So again, a lot of rain today, and we'll look at rain totals here at the end of the video. But nonetheless, again, some flooding is going to be a concern. All right, I'm actually going to move that map back a little bit, and sorry, you're going to get a little bit of a sneak peek of everything here. That's the exact same map I pulled up twice. Again, I'm tired, so I did looks like a lot of the same things here. Okay, yeah, all right, so back to where we were, sorry. So now let's pick up with tomorrow morning. We're going to move our map over here to Pivotal Weather, or Tropical Tidbits, sorry, just so we can kind of zoom it out a little bit here. They do a little bit of a better job, I think, on just actually showing region by region. But again, same model that we were looking at earlier. So here we go, tomorrow morning. As we mentioned, here are that clustering of thunderstorms here over East Texas and Louisiana left over from today. And that is, again, going to be kind of the main driver for severe weather tomorrow afternoon. Here we go, Wednesday afternoon. Again, moderate risk and effect for a lot of areas here. And it's all going to be due to this area right in here. So where we have this kind of cluster of storms set up shop right on the south end, where these storms have a little bit more inflow or some more moist air to the south of them that they can kind of feed off of, that's where we're going to have the strongest or the biggest threat of strong to severe storms, including tornadoes as well as potentially very strong tornadoes, again EF2 and stronger. As we move into the afternoon tomorrow, again, that's going to be the main focus of severe weather, especially the tornado threat. Now, I will mention some of our models indicate some stronger storms also developing up here towards the north. That is definitely a possibility. Even some of these storms up here could maybe become, slightly strong, have some gusty winds with them. But again, that main area we're going to be watching out for tomorrow is in this circled area on your map, from Louisiana through southern Mississippi and into southern Alabama for our Wednesday afternoon, and even into the overnight and evening hours. Same story here. Look at this very strong area of storms, again kind of crossing into this area of the Florida Panhandle and southern Alabama. In fact, looks like even maybe a kind of, I think it's MCV maybe? I don't know. There's a special name for this kind of feature that's showing up that I'm kind of blanking on a little bit right now. But either way, just notice kind of this area right here. That could be interesting, and could even cause problems down the road for Thursday. Oftentimes, these kind of leftover storm complexes that have this very tight area of rotation in them, or spin, more broad than a tornado, but kind of a miniature low pressure system, if you will, at the surface. And you'll even notice that kind of showing up here. We've got kind of some closed isobars in there. Again, that could be interesting for Thursday's forecast. But anyway, at that point, I'm just kind of analyzing this on the moment and not really making sense. Either way, though, again, the main threat tomorrow: tornadoes from Alabama, Mississippi into southern Louisiana as well. And as we go into the overnight here, again, even if these storms are less severe, big clusterings of storms. This is midnight tomorrow, and you'll notice, look at all of this rain showing up on your map. And again, likely even still thunderstorms could be strong to severe here into the Florida Panhandle, maybe even into south central Georgia as well here during the overnight hours of Thursday. Before finally we're going, again, it's about 2 a.m. Thursday morning. And again, most of these storms should become less severe at this point, but still some rain moving on through the western Carolinas, southern Alabama, southern Georgia, and then again, stronger storm potential down into the Florida Panhandle. All right, now let's talk about the significant tornado parameters once more. Again, tomorrow morning, kind of flaring up over Louisiana, but by the time we get to the afternoon, we're really flaring up here. And again, this is a little bit earlier than maybe most severe weather days. This is about noon, 11 a.m. And if I just take a sounding here over some of these stronger STP values, this is, again, a sounding that is going to be conducive for tornadoes. So we've got this big kind of looping hodograph. Maybe would like a little bit more wind out of the, this direction and the southern part of it, but nonetheless, conducive hodograph. We've got a very saturated column once more, very low LCL, and we've got some CAPE here as well. So in fact, this sounding might be a little less conducive than maybe what we're looking at the first one I looked at earlier, but I'm sure if we move this a little bit later into the afternoon here, once we get into 21Z and all, again, these STP values continue to work on through southern Louisiana, southern Mississippi, and even eventually into southern Alabama and into the Florida Panhandle during the overnight hours of our Wednesday and into Thursday. Our excessive rainfall outlook also going to be a problem here. As I mentioned, tomorrow a moderate risk of flash flooding once more, this time through Alabama, Mississippi, and extreme, and I do mean quite literally extreme southwestern Georgia here. But again, even outside of there, that slight risk of flash flooding extending all the way from Nashville, Atlanta, Greenville, South Carolina, back towards Little Rock, Shreveport, and even up into the Memphis and Paducah area. So again, a lot of folks could see some flooding potential tomorrow afternoon. All right, we're very briefly now going to touch on Thursday's forecast. And again, Thursday's a little bit further away, and our mesoscale models aren't quite there yet. So, we'll dive more into this forecast tomorrow. But to give you a quick sneak peek, we'll go ahead and talk about it a little bit. So here we go. Thursday morning, likely at this point, we've got low pressure becoming quite strong over the Ohio River Valley. Likely somewhere over Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, Illinois or Ohio in those general states, likely low pressure at the surface. And what we're going to see by the time we get into Thursday afternoon is a bit of a tricky forecast. And the big question here, as it often is in this part of the country, is how much instability do we have? Well, you'll notice in the morning, we've got this big clustering of storms over the Carolinas, over Georgia, and even into the Florida Panhandle. You might be thinking, well, is that the severe weather threat? No, it's not. That's just likely some good old-fashioned rain falling in the morning outside of the Florida Panhandle where those storms could be a bit feisty maybe. But that is going to be the big question mark, is how quickly does that move out? Does that move out quickly? Is it even this much rain? Is it less than this? That's going to, pay huge dividends into our severe weather threat come Thursday afternoon, because as that clears out on the backside here through the Carolinas, even up into Ohio and West Virginia and Kentucky, we're going to likely get some clearing. Now that could mean actual sunshine. That could just mean the rain stops and the clouds stay pretty overcast and instability still stays low. But either way, likely a feisty line of storms is going to develop right along the surface low pressure and eventually begin to track eastbound through the Carolinas, through Virginia, through West Virginia, through Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee, at least eastern Tennessee, here Thursday afternoon. And again, this is as far out as this model goes, but the big question is going to be instability on Thursday afternoon. And if we take a look at our latest European model run, you'll notice here's that swath of instability from the Carolinas all the way up through Ohio and even trying to get up into Michigan there a little bit. But either way, the highest numbers we're seeing here are kind of over the Charlotte area at about 1,500 joules per kilogram. And same story up here into Ohio. So those are not super high values here for Cape, but again, if I just take a sounding here, we take a look at the wind profile, you'll notice anytime we get that amount of Cape in this part of the country, it's going to be close to enough because we've got these very enlarged photographs that are stretched out, indicating very strong speed shear here, or just meaning winds are getting very quick with height. So it might not be super quick at the surface, but get super strong, the higher up you go. Now, granted, changing with direction with height is not super strong here. You'll notice most of these wind barbs are kind of, coming out of the same direction. But nonetheless, again, still conducive enough, and even our dew points here are relatively high. That LCL is at a manageable level, and again, good enough for the potential of a couple tornadoes on Thursday afternoon into the Carolinas. And if I take a sounding up here in Ohio as well, again, this is going to be a very speed shear setup. So anytime you see that kind of photograph that looks like that, indicating to me that this is a high shear, low Cape kind of setup, as we're kind of used to in this part of the country. So I don't think Thursday will be quite as bad as tomorrow, likely for many folks, but still definitely important enough that we need to watch out for some strong storm potential. And even some flooding potential. So here we go. We already have a slight risk of flooding, kind of right up the Appalachia chain from the foothills of South Carolina, along the I-85 corridor there, up through western North Carolina, into the Virginias, into Maryland, and even into kind of the Poconos region. Again, could see some flash flooding on Wednesday, so need to watch out for that. And the main reason for that is all of this rain we're going to see this week. So here we go. 7-day precipitation, a lot of it on the way, and this isn't including what's already fallen, so this is only what's left to come here. And again, a good couple of inches of rain through much of the deep south, and even 1 to 3 inches of rain once you get up into the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast. So again, pretty active stretch of weather here for the next couple of days, and I doubt it'll really calm down too much here throughout the rest of April. Again, getting into the heart of severe weather season here, and we'll definitely make sure to kind of continue to discuss these setups as they work on through. With that said, though, again, I do appreciate you watching and hanging in there with me. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, like it, let me know in the comments, and I will see you all tomorrow.